Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, my name is Jen. I don't want to ramble too much, but I'm gonna show you how to apply your eyeshadow if you're new to makeup, beginner, and you don't have any idea on how to apply your eyeshadows. This is gonna be hooded eyes friendly, so I have hooded eyes and this is gonna work out for people with or without hooded eyes. I want to give as much information as possible within the shortest amount of time. We're starting now. First thing I want to talk about is brushes. You will need brushes to apply your eyeshadows. I will be using very affordable brushes by the brand Jessup Beauty. It's not sponsored, not at all. I bought this with my own money, but what I want to tell you is that these brushes are very affordable and you can find them on Amazon. So this is the set I have. I will leave the cost as well on the screen so you can see how affordable these brushes are. For the sake of this video, we will be using only 3 brushes and I'm gonna show you them so you can have an idea of what kind of brushes you can get to create this eye look. First, you will need a fluffy blending brush, a crease brush which is tinier than a blending brush that's gonna go in your crease, and finally a flat shader brush for the shades on your lid. You have 2 options for the flat brush. You can use either a synthetic one like this one, and this one I would use it if you're applying a metallic shimmery shade on your lid. If you want to pack a matte eyeshadow, then I would go with a brush that is more like this one with air-like bristle. I'm gonna show you both. So this brush here is better for shimmery metallic shade and this one will work better with matte shade. Now let's talk about where you want to use these brushes. I need you to remember this is above the crease, this is the crease, and this is your lid. Lid, crease, above the crease. Eyeshadows now. I'm gonna show you 2 palettes and affordable dupes to these palettes. So first we have here the Soft Glam by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and the dupe for that palette would be the WetnWild My Glamour Squad. And this is a side-by-side of the palettes so you can see for yourself that they are pretty similar. The second palette, and we have a dupe for that one as well. You know, I'm an affordable makeup queen. I love affordable makeup. So the next palette would be the Modern Renaissance palette by ABH, Anastasia Beverly Hills. And the dupe for that palette would be the Wet n Wild Rose in the Air. Okay, so these are the palettes I wanted to share with you, and for the sake of the video, I'm not gonna use the Soft Glam. I will be using the Wet n Wild one because I love affordable makeup, and when you're just starting makeup, no one has a lot of money to spend on high-end palettes. So we're gonna go with the affordable one, and like I said, I just wanted to show you your options. First thing you want to do when you're starting to do your eyeshadow, you wanna prime your eyelids. What it does, it allows the eyeshadow to be, first of all, more vibrant and stick to your lids. You can use any eyeshadow primer, but I like to go with concealer. You can use any concealer. I will be using my L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealer, and this is in the shade Walnut. So what you're gonna do is apply a concealer. If you have this concealer, apply just 1 dot on each eye, and you can blend this out using a random brush, or you can use a beauty sponge. For this video, I'm gonna use a random brush, so you're gonna pat it in on your eyelids. The next step, there's 2 options. You can either set your eyelids with a translucent powder or leave it as is. For beginner, I strongly recommend setting your eyelids. The eyeshadows will be less pigmented and there's more room for errors. Whereas if you apply eyeshadow directly on the wet concealer that's on your lid, it can get very, very tricky. If you don't set your eyelids, you're gonna have a harder time blending the eyeshadows. All right, so I'm gonna do both options so you can see for yourself what would work best for you. On this eye here, I will set my base and I won't set my base here. And before setting your eyelids, with the powder, make sure there's no creases. So if you need to go over with your brush to make sure that everything is smooth, please do so, because you don't want to apply your eyeshadow or set your eyelids with creases underneath. I'm gonna use the fluffy brush I showed you earlier to apply the translucent powder on my lid. I will go in with the Airspun translucent powder. I'm dipping my brush into my translucent powder, tapping in the excess, and I will go over my eyelid and setting my whole base. There you go. Okay, so now let's get into this eyeshadow. The first shade you want to apply is your transition shade. Transitions are shades that are very close to your skin complexion, and you place this above the crease, so that part here. If we go back in the Wet n Wild Soft Glam dupe, you can either use this one or this one as a transition. I'm gonna go with this one here. I'm gonna use the fluffy blending brush to do so. I'm gonna start with the eye that is not set, and I'm gonna show you how you apply your eyeshadows on a base that's not set. You're first gonna tap. Because your base is not set, you want to pat in the shade. So here we go. I am patting it in. You don't start blending it now because the base is still tacky, and that's why I was saying it's gonna give you a little bit of hard time if you decide not to set your base and you're new to eyeshadows. When you go in your palette, tap the excess and build up the intensity to your liking. Now I'm gonna start blending with no additional product on my brush. You're gonna do wiping motions. You can also do little circular motions. So I'm gonna start by just doing wiping motions like that. And you wanna hold your brushes almost at the end of the brush like that. See how I'm holding my brush? And I'm barely putting pressure on my eyelids while I'm doing the wiping motions. Also, what you need to do is when you're putting down your eyeshadows, you don't want your eyeshadow to go past that line here. And that line is the end of your brow, your outer V, which is this part here of the eyes, and your nose. You don't want your eyeshadows to go past this, all right? So wiping motions, and now I'm doing circular motions to blown it out. All right, so that should be looking like this, and you can always go back, add more. Now let's move to the eye that is not set. Same thing, I'm dipping into my eyeshadow, tap the excess, and because your base is already set, you can start doing wiping motions right away. It's not tacky anymore. There's some powder underneath there, so, and that's it. And you're gonna do some wiping motions and circular motions towards your brows like that. And like I said, I'm barely pressing the brush on my lid. Let me tell you the story. When I first started doing makeup, girl, I was pressing so hard on my lid while blending that my eyes would feel irritated. I'm gonna prevent this problem for you, okay? Don't do that. All right, tapping, tap off the excess. I don't know if you can tell, but this eye here is less pigmented. That's why I was telling you, I prefer not to set my eye base, but it's easier if you're starting out. So now I will have to build up the intensity so it can match the other eye. Now we're done. We have applied the transition. Now it's time to deepen your crease. Like I said, this is the crease. And for hooded eyes, I need to pause a second. Please, people who doesn't have hooded eyes, bear with me. I need to give this tip to my hooded eyes sissies. So the crease is where your eye, when you open your eye and you follow your eye socket. But us hooded eyes girls, when we open our eyes, most of our lids and our crease disappear because we have extra skin folding on our lids, okay? Our crease is somewhere here underneath all the skin. That being said, we will have to work differently because we have hooded eyes. In your crease, you want to use a shade that is darker than your transition because it's gonna deepen and contour your crease. So in the Wet n Wild palette, for the crease to deepen it, you can use either the brown shade here, this reddish brown shade here. You can also go with this brown here if you're looking for something more subtle, more soft. And if you want something very smoky, you can go with black. What I want to use on my crease is the reddish brown that I showed you, this one. I'm going in with the crease brush, which is more smaller and pointed. It's really gonna go in the crease. Let's start with the eye that is not set. Tapping in the pan, it's very pigmented. Tap off the excess. I'm gonna pat this on the outer corner, outer V. This is this place here. I'm gonna first start by packing this here like that. And then, and that's the tip for my hooded eyes sissies, you have to keep your eyes open, and I'm dragging the eyeshadow in my crease like that. I didn't add any other product, just going in like that and keeping my eyes open because you want to see the dark shade when you open your eyes, you know. And I'm blending this out like that. See? I'm doing circular motions here and wiping motions here in the crease. Or for my hooded eyes sisters, just above the crease but not too high where the transition is, like that. So can you tell the difference already with this eye here and this one? It's more defined. And I'm gonna go back again, dipping my brush just a little bit, tapping the excess and going back on the outer V, and I'm going in the crease. I'm gonna repeat the same step. There's nothing too different. You wanna apply the eyeshadow on the outer V first, pat it in, and then bring it in the crease with a wiping motion. So I'm gonna do that. You can watch. Alright, so up until now, I hope it's not too complicated and you think it's still easy, or I give enough information and it's helping you out. Now, the only thing that is left is the lid shade. I will go in with shimmers, and like I told you, because I'm gonna use shimmery shades, I will be using the synthetic brush like this one. I will be using this gold shade here. If you were to use a matte shade, you would dip in your matte shade using your flat brush. You would pat it in on your eyelid. But when you're using shimmery shades, you can swipe it on your eyelids. So I'm gonna show you. For my hooded sissies here, because we have hooded eyes, you want to go just above your natural crease line so there's more space in your eyes. What I'm doing, basically, I will go right here, just above my natural crease line. But if you don't have hooded eyes, you can apply this only on your eyelids. Another trick too is, let's say you want this eyeshadow to pop more, you can wet your brush with some water or your setting spray. I'm gonna use my water, wet my brush like that, and dip back in the eyeshadow, and see, it is already more vibrant. Or if you want your eyeshadow to be vibrant, you can always use your fingers with shimmery shades like that and pat it in. This is another trick too. So I give you all the options. Let's say on this eye here, it was a matte shade. I'm gonna show you how you would apply it. So you would dip into your palette. It's a shimmery shade, but I'm just gonna pretend. And you would pat it in like that on your eyelid. This is not working because it's a shimmery shade, but I just wanna give you the trick so you know how to do it. So you would pat it in like that, and then you would have your matte shade on your lid. But since we're not working with matte shade, let me go ahead and swipe this up. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I didn't go all the way to my outer V because we want to keep the little smoky contour we did apply. Don't bring it all over your lid. Don't do that. Now the only step that is left is going back with your crease brush and the deeper shade we use in our crease to blend the edges. So just a little bit and blend the edges like that. It brings back the color. Basically what you're doing, you're going back and adding again the deeper shade. So pat it in and then start doing little circular motions and some wiping motions above the crease or in your crease. The last step is going in your lower lash line using the same color that is on your crease and your transition. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use my crease brush, and be careful with that when you're gonna do that because it can get messy. So I'm going with my crease brush. I'm using the reddish brown, tap the excess. Be careful because you don't want to go too low when you're working on your lower lash line. So just gonna put this the closest I can to my lower lash line like that. So be careful because the brush is kind of big. You can use a smaller brush like this one here, but I haven't showed it to you, but that would be a good brush to use to apply the shadows down there. Next, what you want to do is blend the edges of the deep shade using the transition. Yeah, so it's all put together, if that makes sense. So I'm going back using the transition shade, tap off the excess, and again, be careful not to drag it too low. So just like that, blending the edges. That's it. That's how you do eyeshadow. That's the video I wish I saw when I started doing makeup. Yup. Okay, I came back. I did add some lashes because I love my lashes, but if you're starting makeup and you don't know how to apply lashes or you're not comfortable wearing lashes, you can definitely add some mascara and you're done. Now the last step that is missing is adding mascara to my lower lash line, so that's what I'm gonna do. Just add a little. Try not to ruin what's going on underneath there. So I'm gonna add just a little bit. So this is the final look. I give the information I wish I have found in one single video when I started makeup because it's not easy. You're starting makeup, there's a bunch of videos out there on how to, and you have to watch a couple. I hope this video gave you as much information as possible on how to get comfortable with eyeshadows and then become an expert in eyeshadows. Don't be scared to try at home. You don't have to go outside and wear the eyeshadow you did. And I gave you the option of buying an affordable eyeshadow palette, so definitely you're not gonna be using a expensive product on just trying on some techniques. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope as well that you did learn at least something from my tutorial today. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up, and if you're not part of my family, please subscribe. It makes me so happy. And of course, hi to my OGs. Thank you for riding with me. Anyways, so that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you all on my next one. Mwah.